Hey everybody. So, I just listened to the new Uchis album, and I wanted to just um, take a moment of appreciation for this wonderful record. Um, this album immediately shows tons of influences within the first couple tracks. So as soon as I started picking up on everything, I really started writing it all down. I took notes. This album was so good. I took notes throughout the entire duration of it, and sometimes there's influences, but they're blended, and you hear multiple influences and styles potentially thrown into one track. It's incredible. I've been Kali Uchis, for those who don't know, is kind of an R&B contemporary singer, and I was really pleased. I think it was Poor Vita from 2015. I heard that a couple years ago. My friend Ben introduced me to her song Loner, maybe a couple others, I think. And as soon as I heard those, I was just not only in love with her, because she's absolutely stunning and gorgeous, but I was in love with her music, her sound. I really liked Poor Vita, but this is a step up. And I mean, there's a reason that, as you'll see, tons of people, big names, are working with her on this album, because she had the potential and she reached it with this record. It's absolutely stunning. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first track is Body Language, which features Thundercat, only the greatest bassist of our generation. Across the board, I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's got a very 70s smooth jazz feel. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's just a nice little kickoff to this record. It's just very kind of mysterious, and then it goes right into Miami. That is. It features, I think, BIA or BIA, something like that, which feels like a mid 2000s hip hop track. It kind of reminds me of The Roots a little bit. It's very slick, and it's very nice. Then the third track is Just a Stranger, which really feels kind of like I want to say kind of a 90s kind of almost pop track. I wouldn't go as far to say maybe pop, but it reminds me a little bit of I feel like, was it Fiona Apple who did that song about not being whatever? It reminds me of Fiona Apple, if I'm right. Flight 22, really playing in some Amy Winehouse inspiration, and I've always felt that she is reminiscent of Amy Winehouse, but I kind of enjoy her music a little bit better than what I heard of Amy's. All due respect, and Amy Winehouse was a tremendous talent, but I'm a big fan of Kali. Your Teeth in My Neck, what a name. Bit more contemporary in style, and I definitely feel Laura Mvula in here. Some Laura Mvula influence, who is another contemporary R&B musician. She is wonderful. I recommend her most recent album from 2016. I think the Coloring Room, or I think that's what it's called, has a wonderful song called Phenomenal Woman, and a bunch of other amazing tracks on that album. But then there's a breakdown near the end of Your Teeth in My Neck that's super smooth and just luscious. I mean, this album in general is luscious. It's just like, it's just sweet in sound. It's in, I don't know if I want to say indulgent, but I mean, yeah, it's indulgent, but not in a negative way. Like, it just really goes for the cake in the sound. Very sweet, soft, smooth, and just gorgeous beginning to end. But then we go into the track Tyrant, which is, I remember specifically, this one had a very slick, beautiful hip-hop production feel, and the bass line is just awesome. You know, it's not like it's super showy. It's not a Thundercat thing, but it's just really catchy and, like, you know, gets your move, and it really does. Dead to Me. This one really had a chill wave influence, you know. For those of you who aren't exactly familiar with chill wave, you know, that's kind of like it's kind of a retro style of music. Sometimes detuned synthesizers, so acts that are very famous in the genre are, you know, there's Neon Indian, Tycho, Washed Out. You know, there's I don't know. There's others, Toro y Moi, and I love chillwave a lot. Like, I'm a big fan of that genre of music, and it really, you know, it sounds like home. Actually, is a Bandcamp act. Home, HOME, all caps. That you know, got really big on Bandcamp, and, like, you know, is kind of famous for just kind of a certain crowd. Like, those of us who know Home are, like, really big fans or whatever. You know, I'm really enjoyed. Yeah, Dead to Me had this detuned synthesizer feel that definitely had that, you know, had that chill wave thing going. All right, and then there's Nuestro Planeta, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You know, playing up the Latin influence blatantly. You hear it the moment the song begins, and then, you know, she really, you know, she is speaking Spanish, and it's awesome. I mean, it sounds super, you know, it sounds like a really solid Latin track with a bit of a played up, like, there's a lot of hip-hop influence all over this album, but there's a bit of that on even this track. In My Dreams, you know, it features Damon Albarn, one of the greatest musicians of all time, famous for being the frontman of the Gorillaz, or rather the man behind the curtain of the Gorillaz, and for being the frontman of Blur, which I love both. It's like it's rare you got a guy who can front two of the most famous bands in the world, but he did it, and he just continues to make great music. Had a great solo album in 2014. Although I was disappointed with the new Gorillaz album, I will say the two best tracks had Kali Uchis on it, if I remember correctly. Then there's Gotta Get Up, which really has unique influences all over the place. Like, there's a really kind of, you know, I wouldn't, I'm not going to go stretch too far, but I would definitely say I feel like Weather Report, the 70s jazz group, you know, it's like with Jaco Pastorius on the bass. I feel like this is them if they sat down and smoked some pot and did a song with Kali Uchis. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous interlude, and that's how what really inspired me to listen to it today, because the video was released last night for this little interlude. And I was like, oh yeah, I gotta hear that. And now that I have Spotify, I can. By the way, brief intersection here, sorry, not intersection, a brief little interlude, as they say. You know, I will preach to you about Spotify the way internet dudes talk about NoFap. Like, it's life-changing. I've had it for 2 days, and I just heard so much great music. Or at least, you know, it's opening up music that I wasn't able to hear on, like, YouTube or Bandcamp or, you know, even SoundCloud, not premium. So it's awesome. But then that leads us into tomorrow, which features Tame Impala, and it's just, it's Tame Impala as fuck, too. I mean, it feels like a Tame Impala song, save for her vocals, and it works to its advantage. It's kind of gorgeous. It is perfect, you know. It's like a wonderful track, which brings us into Coming Home interlude, which is like synth pop with it opens up with a synth pop influence with like jazz sort of thrown in there. I mean, how do you do that? I don't know. I wish I could do that. Like, and then it goes to a slow, smooth transition that isn't quite as, you know, vibrant in sound, but, you know, not any less awesome or gorgeous. And then we have After the Storm, which, you know, this was like the big single, I think, from the album. It was like the third single, maybe, and it was the one that really, you know, played up the fact that it's coming, because they had a whole video with her and Tyler, the Creator. This song is an instant classic. I absolutely loved it the first time I heard it, and love it even more now. It gives me the chills. Amazing, powerful lyrics about trying to overcome this isolation, this pain, this loneliness, but it's a pop song too. And then Tyler, the Creator, whom I saw live and love, just throws a little nice verse. And might add, these two, name a more iconic duo, these two did a wonderful job on See You Again last year with on Tyler, the Creator's album Flower Boy. It was one of the best songs of last year. And this song is just wonderful. Wonderful. Perfect. Just amazing. Feel Like a Fool. I wrote down indie pop feel here, but I think that that's too simple of a label, you know. And then stunning chorus is what I remembered about that track. You know, like, I don't know if it's like her and a couple other people in the background, maybe kind of amping up the voice, not like a choir, but like a group, or maybe it's just her, you know, overdubbing herself or something. I don't know. It just feels like there's more than one person singing it, and it sounds gorgeous. And then we end the album on Killer, which has kind of a not blatant but minorly reggae-ish guitar, which is, you know, kind of matched with this loungy piano with some nice strings and trumpets that kind of end the album there. And I would say, actually, the closing track was, you know, was like maybe one of the lesser stunning, but it's still kind of impressive in that, you know, as I said, the mix of the reggae guitar and the piano, you know, and then strings and trumpet, like, kind of all put together. It was just really nice. I think this is easily one of the best albums of the decade. It's so ambitious. As I explained, all the different influences and genres that kind of come into play here with this album, you know, on YouTube, I mean, not YouTube, on Wikipedia, you know, there's like 5-6 genres listed throughout the whole thing, and I feel like there's even more than that, really, if we get down to the meat and bone of it, like, you know, track by track. As I explained, there's just all kinds of interesting influence, and I adored this album. I haven't done many album reviews. I only did one of I, Robot by Alan Parsons Project because I feel like that one's underappreciated. But this one, I had to do a review of this because within minutes, of the album, I'm already like, this album's all over the place, but in like the best way possible. It just, it doesn't feel like a mess, and every song has catchy hooks to some extent, has an aesthetic and feel to it, and I couldn't, I want to speak too soon and say like this album probably won't be topped this year, but and I would be happy if it did, because like then we get an album even better than this one, I'm not saying by her, but by anybody, this year. I feel like this is going to be a hard album to be topped, but it is just April right now. It's going to be hard to top this variety and wonderful. I don't even know. This album is just excellent. Give it a listen. This is all not objective. Maybe you'll hate it, or maybe you will think it's a mess, but I definitely would strongly recommend listening to this album. I loved it. I really did. And, it really is way up there with some of my other favorite albums of this decade, with, like Black Star by David Bowie, or, rather, the reason that one comes up is, like, this is a very ambitious project. That's at the very least. Whether it's one of my favorite albums of the decade or not, this is definitely one of the most ambitious I've listened to, because of all the people involved, and the presentation just makes it a really, at least, intriguing listen. It's all over the place. And so, let me know if you want to hear any other album reviews. I'd be happy to listen to albums that I wouldn't normally listen to, and to give you my opinion on all of them. I'm always so positive about stuff. Give me something that I might not be as wild about, that I could tear apart, or just hear me be positive about stuff, because I enjoy appreciating what is beautiful about life, like this Kali Uchis album, as opposed to what's, like, looking for the negative in things. I tried to see the positive in this album, and it was kind of hard to see any negative, really. Anyway, yeah, give me some recommendations. And have a wonderful day, most importantly. Even if you hate this album, just have a wonderful day.